So, are you feeling that you're not achieving your goals and you're distracted and you're really caught up on what's not working in your life? I'm here with Natalia Edelman, and she is going to be sharing some of her great advice about how you can find more focus. So, tell us a little bit more, Natalia.
Well, Tanya, I think that, well, I don't think, I know when I work with people, quite often what happens is they're struggling to achieve what they want to achieve. And I work a lot with entrepreneurial women, women who either want to start a business or they're in business already.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is they're trying to do so many things at once, or they get lost in what's not working versus what is working.
Mm-hmm.
And so they attract more of what's not working. So when you focus on what's not working, guess what? Things are just going to continue to not work because you're not, it's like that saying, where energy flows, attention goes.
Okay.
And I think what happens is it's kind of like the story about when you're, I heard it once, it was when you're sort of whitewater rafting, for example. And there was this guide, and he was telling me he used to tell people what to avoid. So it's like, don't go for that rock, or don't go in that direction because we'll hit a tree. But what was happening was people were actually going towards the rock,
Yeah.
or going towards that tree. So he changed his approach. He said, go for that destination, go for that place. So not avoiding the stuff, not focusing on what not to hit, but actually focusing on the direction that you need to go. And I always say this, that vision is the direction, strategy is the pathway there, but ultimately you are the key to making it happen. So, it's very easy for us to get caught up in our challenges, to not see what's actually going on, and not able to kind of reframe and tweak what we're doing to make sure we're going in the right way.
Mm-hmm. So interesting you say that. I just relate when my daughter, when she was growing up, and she loved to climb onto these very sort of narrow places. And I would always say to her, if you're going to climb up there, stay focused on what you're doing. Because I would hear other mothers and they say, don't climb up there, you're going to fall. And that was just planting the seed of them falling. And I would always say, if you're going to get up there, stay focused. What you're doing. And I think it's a little bit like that, isn't that?
It is. Absolutely. It's if, when you have a goal and you have a clear action plan, and you're able to kind of go through that action plan and say, okay, this is what I'm focused on. And you can, so what happens is everyone has potential. So when you're focused on things that are going well, and you bring this level of energy with you, that's like, I can do this. I've got this. It doesn't matter what happens. I'm going to just go for it. I'm going to take little bits of action. You start to tap into your highest potential, because everyone has potential. And what you do with that potential is that you take inspired action, or you take some kind of action, and that action would lead to results. And it's so easy to sort of say, oh, I didn't get the result I wanted. This must not be working. And so you start to lose that momentum, and you kind of get into this vicious cycle that it's like, well, now I don't actually believe I'm going to actually do this. So then you start to lose that momentum, like I was saying. So having that focus that on where you're going and what's working right, that's about, tapping into that highest potential. That's believing in yourself no matter what.
Okay.
And just having that trust that it's all going to work out.
So I could imagine somebody who's running, who's an entrepreneurial woman, with a woman that you work with, and they're doing their projects and things aren't working. And as we're critical of ourselves, aren't we? So we focus on what's not functioning. And that kind of what I'm hearing is that that's the spiral that you're going to start going down that. So even though I could imagine whatever percentage of it is not working, even if it's maybe only a 20 that's working, what you're saying is focus on the 20% that is working and continue in that direction. Am I hearing you right?
Yeah, it's like that
Yeah.
80/20 rule. And, you know, a lot of the times, and you'll know this being an IAWP coach, but we use the core coaching method.
Yeah.
And so when I'm working with my clients and they're telling me, you know, what challenge are you facing? And we're talking through it. And it's like, okay, what is that leading? What is that outcome that's happening? And then, you know, they really sort of start to get honest with themselves and say, well, this isn't going and this isn't going. And instead of focusing on what isn't going, at that point, that's where we go into reframing. And it's like, okay, talk to me now about how we can look at this differently. How can we, you know, flip this around and say, because, you know, with struggle there's light. Any problem that you face is a challenge, an opportunity to change. It's just about getting into the habit about looking at it differently, flipping it on its head, and just totally reframing and visualizing it in a totally different way.
So, okay, so if you've got a coach and the coach is going to ask the questions, if somebody's listening to our conversation today, and what suggestion would you give them if they're on their own and they're stuck in a struggle? How can you get that reframe? How can you look at it in a completely different way? What would you recommend them to do?
It's about asking those questions. So, you know, it's kind of looking at it from a positive point of view. So asking yourself, okay, what would I rather be experiencing? What would I what can I do differently? If I were to think about the ideal outcome, the ideal, okay, scenario, what does that look like? And how can I then take little bits of action towards that? How can I feel differently about it? There's something that I do with some of my clients that's about setting feel goals.
Oh,
So it's like, you know, if I want to feel empowered, what are the things that I can do? Even if it's like, you know, your power pose, but what are those things, little things that you can do to feel those that way, so that you start to just shift. You make that shift from a negative state to a positive state, and your whole energy shifts.
yeah.
It's incredible to see.
And it's really interesting because I'm hearing you're talking about the biology of you're bringing your body into it, the feeling, the experience that you're having. And that seems to be affecting your emotions and affects your state of being, and it'll help you move forward.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because your state of being is everything. And that's what wellness is. Wellness is a state of being. It's becoming aware of and making active choices towards a healthier, more fulfilling life. And so just even recognizing that and understanding what that is, okay, active process. You have to actively do it. That's why if you're in a situation where you feel stuck, well, you feel like you can't move. And so it's about, how do you get out of that frame of mind? How do you get out of that situation? And sometimes it's just taking a little baby step,
Yeah,
in a different direction.
it comes to my mind almost as though, you know, when you're in you know, that mud and sinking sand, and the recommendation they give you to use to keep as still as possible and not to struggle, because the more you struggle, the more you get pulled down. So I'm interested. I'm sure that there's other women out there, entrepreneurial women, who find what Natalia has got to share. I mean, you've got a lot of wonderful strategies. So tell us a little bit more about how people can find out more, and where we can find out, you know, how to move forward and get unstuck.
Yeah, absolutely. So I developed a system that I've used myself and with my clients. It's the Make It Happen Success System. And I run 3-month private and also 6-month group sessions. And if you want to learn more about it, you can go to my website, which is www.nataliaedelman.com, and I'll put the link around this video somewhere. But on there, you can get a little more information about the program, and you can also apply for a strategy session with me that's completely free. And it's going to give you, you're going to get clear on what your vision is, what your goals are, and really what action can you then take to really make it happen?
Mm, that's fantastic. And I just want to share, because both Natalia and I have studied with the IAWP, and it doesn't necessarily mean we've got to a point where we can still contract other coaches. And how I see it is, we can continue plodding along and struggling, and it's somebody that comes from the outside, sees what you're doing, and it's just a small correction, and then you can move forward. So from my experiences, like, why struggle? Why be in that struggle? Reach out to somebody, get some help, get some support. And we have wonderful Natalia here, who is a life strategist and can help us with great, wonderful entrepreneurial woman moving forward and not struggling in life. So contact her, and thank you for listening. Thank you, Natalia.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. I hope you've enjoyed the video.